Today we're going to be taking a look at a mock suppressor and tracer combo that I think could be the new standard for Airsoft. Now this is the EMG CGS licensed SCI 6, which is definitely a mouthful, but this is a licensed replica of a CGS suppressor's can right here. And the neat thing about this is it's not only a mock suppressor, it's a tracer, and I think the system that it has in there has some really unique tricks up its sleeve that makes it better than some similar options out there on the market. I do just want to take a quick moment to thank Evike.com. They were kind enough to send this out for testing and evaluation, so a big thank you to them. You can buy this on their website. I'll have it linked down in the description below. But getting into the mock suppressor itself, we'll talk about the outside and then work our way in. This is made out of aluminum, and what I like about it is it is still beefy, especially once you have all the things on the inside for the suppressor. I feel like a lot of aluminum cans just kind of feel light and cheap. This has some weight to it, and it'll definitely make your gun a little bit more front heavy, which is nice for a little bit of added realism. The other nice thing with this suppressor is it uses a new system that EMG has called the E-Hub. And essentially what that is a universal flash hider right here that works kind of similar to the Noveske Pigpen, where it has these threads on the outside which are supposed to be universal for suppressors. So as long as suppressors have the same threading on the inside, you can just thread that right on there. And EMG, I imagine, is going to be coming out with more suppressors that use this same mounting system. I really like this because if I want to take the mock suppressor off for any reason, I don't just have exposed threading on the barrel. This flash hider here kind of looks like an A2 bird cage. It's a little bit different, but that means that it's going to look good on pretty much anything. I mean, this looked good on my PP19, which is what I was using when I tested this out. It looked good on my URGI. I imagine this wouldn't look bad on a machine gun or an AK. So it's nice that it has this kind of universal flash hider that the suppressor then mounts onto. So now let's take a look at the inside, where the magic really is on this. You can open the mock suppressor either through the top cap right here, or about 3/4 of the way down. And right now we're gonna have this in the configuration that I consider to be the most stable platform. So as we undo this, you're gonna see a couple of things come out of the replica. So the big thing is you have this nice long spring in there. And what I like about this is this constantly keeps pressure on the tracer unit as it's inside, which a lot of other mock suppressor tracer combos simply do not have. They either have nothing in there so it can rattle around, or they have like a plastic, tube in there that's supposed to keep it nice and secure on there, but oftentimes it tends to lead to rattling or having your BBs strike the inside of the suppressor, which means that you have, chunks of BBs going out of the barrel and it's not very accurate. Having this giant spring in there does make it much easier to use, and there's a couple of different configurations that you can do on the inside of this. So the way that I have this done now is the actual tracer unit itself right here, I have threaded into the base of the suppressor. So this is the most secure option right here because it's going to be threaded down onto that and it's not going anywhere. And then you also have the addition of that spring keeping it from moving. The other way that you can set this up, which I was using while I was playing because I have a little bit of inner barrel sticking out of my gun, is if you take out this little spacer, for lack of a better word here, put the base of the tracer unit in there, and then put that on top of the threads. That gives you just a little bit more space if you have your inner barrel sticking out a little bit, which is nice. And then you put the spring and the final washer on there, and then you can just secure down the body of the suppressor right here. And what this does is, I'm not going to fully screw it down because we're going to take it apart again, is this doesn't put anything really big in front of the tracer unit, which means that you get a little bit more glow when you're using the muzzle flash system, which we'll talk about the other systems in just a minute, or the different offerings that it has. The other thing that you can do, because it is this spring, which is awfully convenient, is you can reverse this pretty much entirely, and then you can put the tracer unit much farther forward, like at the end of the cap. So if you have a longer inner barrel, that is going to make it so you can still get, the tracer functionality if it is sticking out of your gun by, maybe 3 or so inches once you have everything on there. So it gives you a lot of versatility that other tracer designs really don't offer when they don't have a spring like this, which does a really good job of keeping it not only from going back and forth, lengthwise, but also up and down from side to side, which can lead to you striking the suppressor when you actually shoot it. So at the base of all of this is a pretty standard, you've probably seen something similar before, just small tracer unit that goes on the inside. It's about 10 millimeters thick, I believe, or the inside is, I should say. It has threading on it, because obviously you're gonna need to do it to the base, but that means that you can also just put this right on the threads of your gun if you wanted to. If for whatever reason you didn't want the full tracer, and you just wanted a little tiny guy. I like to do this at Bilson West sometimes when, I'm only gonna be using it at night, so I can just take off my flash hider, screw this on, just gives you some more options. Now this is super simple because the only button that you have to worry about is right on the back, and this will adjust which mode the tracer is on. So again, you have 3 options. You have either just standard tracer mode, where you put a BB through and it hits it with a bunch of light so that it lights up. You have a muzzle flash mode, which is just muzzle flash. So when the BB goes through, you have some LEDs on the front that give you a nice orange cone. And then you also have, let's see if it'll do it right here, both. And you can tell which one it's doing, because if you look down the tracer, you'll see it as it goes. It's also color coded, so when you press this, the light will change color, which is super handy because a lot of other ones where they don't have a lot of indicators to say what they're doing, especially these dual tracer and muzzle flashes, it's nice to just have it, a little color coding system. And you could even take like a Sharpie paint pen and write it on the side of this if you aren't going to remember it. The one thing that I'm not a huge fan of with this is that you have to screw off the front right here to get access to the charging port. It is a USB-C, which I do like because I don't like having to run little batteries in these. So having a rechargeable battery is nice. And then the other thing, which is just kind of a complaint in general about these sort of systems, but it's not the biggest deal in the world, is that you do need to take the suppressor apart to turn this on, which can be difficult if you're at a non-stop game like Gun Gamers Productions or Milsim West where, oh shoot, it's nice time, I want my tracer on. You gotta remember to turn this on before the sun sets, or else, I'm just worried in the dark, under my nods, I might lose a little bit of this. So just a little player tip from my years of experience, make sure to turn this on before the sun goes down. As for the tracer itself, we decided to test this in an indoor environment, and what we found was even with the lights on, the tracers were bright enough to still be seen, which is a complaint that I have with some other tracer models where they're just not bright enough, during the day, or if you're at an indoor field where the lights are on, if you can't actually see the tracers, then what's the point? The tracer BBs we were using for testing were the HPA brand 0.28 gram tracer BBs, and we had great success using those. You could see it nice and bright, and the other cool thing was that it was bright enough that honestly I could just track my BBs. If I wasn't using a red dot, they were bright enough that I could follow them along and make successful and accurate hits that way. If for whatever reason, if I was just taking a quick snapshot and didn't have time to line up my red dot, this was bright enough that I could still see the BB. Even with it, keep in mind, being the way that I had it set up, all the way at the back of the can. I didn't have it pushed all the way up because I didn't have that long of an extended inner barrel, but this still makes a considerable amount of light, both for the traveling BB and the muzzle flash mode, even when it is lower and in the back of the suppressor. Now in the box, you are going to get a few extra things. You're going to get a quick little reference guide on how to use the flare mono, which is the actual tracer unit that goes inside of there. It also comes with a pistol adapter. So if you need to go down from 14mm threads to the smaller pistol barrel threads, that adapter is included in there, which is, I feel like a 5.56 suppressor on a pistol might look a little goofy, but if you wanted to say, just use the insert on your Glock or your high cap or whatever, that does give you the option to do so. So you have a lot of different options with this. So in one system, you have something that's gonna look good on your rifles, it's gonna look good on your pistol caliber carbines or your MP5s, whatever it may be. I was using this on my PP19, but you could also scale it down to be using on your pistols. So I think you get a lot of value out of one package. So at the end of the day, would I recommend picking up this system? I think that it has a lot of potential, and honestly, I can't think of any tracer and suppressor combo that does everything that this does. The big thing that sold me on this is the spring on the inside, because it keeps it nice and stable and secure no matter how you have the tracer set up in there. So I think that it does things that others don't. Also, having this little hub with the flash hider I think is really nice, because EMG, having a million licenses, if they're adapting this system, and say you pick up this original combo, and then down the road they make another suppressor that you end up really liking, or because this threading system is open source, maybe another brand comes out with one, that just gives you a lot more versatility than you're going to get with either mock suppressors that are dedicated to being a tracer or other tracer insert systems. So I really like this, and again, this is provided by Evike and Evike Manufacturing Group, which is known as EMG. So if you want to pick one up, you can pick it up on Evike's website. I have a link down in the description below to not only the tracer unit, which comes with the flash hider, the tracer on the inside, and the mock suppressor, but also the BBs that we used for testing. And again, in the name of transparency, if you click on that link and purchase something from Evike, I do get a small commission on that, which, you know, pays the bills, allow me to go out and test more gear and keep the channel running. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much. I want to know, what do you think of suppressor combos like these? Would you rather have something that has the ability to take it out and then, you know, put it back in, or do you prefer something that is purpose-built to just be a tracer? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. My name is Lane, and I will see you all next time.